Behind the scenes, take 2. Woo! Hope you've been enjoying the past couple episodes. It's just me. It's a solo episode. Greg has been out on he's on vacation or a trip, and he's just partying his life away and didn't want to be with me. Just playing. He wished he was there. He was really banging himself that he couldn't do a show with me this week. So I just decided to do a behind the scenes thing. It's turned into 3 episodes now. So I might batch these, give you 2 all at once. We'll see. So what I'm going to talk about today, we're going to continue the behind the scenes talk about how I run Weaver Space and all the behind the scenes stuff that goes on. And today we're going to be talking about really behind the scenes stuff, which is the stuff that most of you don't see at all, right? It's all the non-facing stuff. It's, my team. It's the tools that I use to do everything that I do. It's the finances, how I run my business. It's the tools that I use for team communication and things of that nature. So let's start with the boring stuff. How about that? The legalese behind Weaver Space is I own an LLC. I've owned this LLC since 2008. It is Aspect Services LLC. You've probably seen Aspect Services on every single sales invoice that you've had or in the footer of my website and things of that nature. That's me. It's my company. Don't want to dive into too much legal advice in terms of why I did an LLC. I have an LLC for flow through. In the US, it's a limited liability company. And essentially it allows taxation, profits flow through to me as an owner personally. But then on the taxes, I file taxes as an S corporation. So, if you're curious on all that stuff, check out, contact a lawyer or check out, actually, you know what? I was at MicroConf a couple weeks ago, a conference, and Stripe, they recently announced they have a product called Atlas that traditionally helped people set up C corporations. And while C corporations are interesting, they're not for everybody in every situation. So they recently announced that they're going to start doing LLCs. So really excited about that. That's really cool. I already have mine, but it's great for everybody else because it really lowers the barrier of entry for if you want to get started and creating an LLC and all that jazz, right? So check out Cloud Atlas, I believe they call it, Stripe. So just go to stripe.com. I think it's stripe.com/Atlas, I believe. So yeah, cool stuff if you want to create a business entity, whether or not you're in the US or outside the US. So a lot of times one of their main markets was actually creating US business entities for international users. And they actually didn't intend. They thought, people that are in the U.S. wouldn't really use that service, but they have been, right? So you can be inside or outside the U.S. and create a U.S.-based company. And obviously, with that, you probably got to file taxes in the U.S. and all that jazz for your corporation. So there's a lot of stuff that you need to know and to look into that I'm not going to dive into here today. But good stuff. So finances, obviously my business has a checking account. It has business credit cards. I use PayPal Payments Pro for my credit card processing. I am entertaining the fact of using Stripe, mostly because I really, really, really want to use and support Apple Pay. And Stripe just makes that a lot easier. Obviously, later on I'll talk about I'm using Cartloom to process all of that. And I can't wait for them to start supporting Apple Pay, and subscriptions would be nicer to have as well, to maybe offer some subscriptions for some things. And Stripe just makes all of those things a lot easier. Okay. One thing I actually wanted to do in finances that I haven't done is my business doesn't have a savings account right now. So just kind of talking about, I'm really opening up here. So yeah, my business doesn't have a savings account. It would be nice to have a savings account and then, put in some draws, maybe 2 or 3 months expenses. Right now, I don't have that kind of capital right now to do that, but that's definitely something I would love to do. So yeah, hopefully soon, when we grow at Weaver Space and it grows up, we'll be able to do something like that, for myself, just to make sure that, we can keep the lights on for many, many months in the future, without having to stress. So that's the boring stuff, finances and creating entities and all that jazz. Let's dive into my team, kind of how I make all that happen. So my team, the people that you probably interface with, obviously Rob, who on the last episode handles all my support, I publicly thanked, and we love you, Rob. Okay. Tron Sutton, he's still around, right? He did support for me every now and then. He pops in and helps some people out with some tickets and whatnot. So Tron, you're still a part of our hearts. We love you, buddy. And then obviously we have hipster John Hawkins, who right now is probably trying to call me so that we can work on the new Weaver Space website, because he is tirelessly working until the witching hour every day to help make this site a reality for everybody. So John's awesome. Love him. He's one of my best buds. And lastly, but not least, the big white duck himself, Andrew Tavanor. I love having him aboard. It's just fun having him around. If you guys have ever been on the Hangout, he's just a blast to be with. He's funnier than heck. He always hurts himself, always in the hospital. I'm pretty sure they have his name plaque on the door now. But yeah, Tav's just been great. He developed some amazing stuff, as you guys all know. Yeah, I'm glad to have him aboard, and he just makes everything better for everybody. Now, some boring stuff, right? On my finance side, this year I wanted to try to do less of that myself, right? So this year I hired a few new services that I use to help me manage my finances. First is bench.co. And they are bookkeepers. And so basically what they do is, I am not a fan of QuickBooks. I've also used Wave apps before, right? Wave, if you are just getting started, Wave is really cool. It's a web app, and it's completely free. They do make money because you could do like credit card processing through them and whatnot, but Wave is awesome. If you are looking for something new and you don't want to go QuickBooks route, Wave's pretty nice. I did use them for a couple years. Then I kind of hired my father to do my bookkeeping, and he was comfortable with QuickBooks. So we moved off Wave onto QuickBooks, and I don't know. I am just not a QuickBooks guy at all. Right. So, and I was kind of leaning on my poor dad to do all of that for me. And so I decided to put my big boy pants on, and I hired Bench this year. And Bench, they are a complete online service, but you deal with actual people, right? So I can have a call every month with my bookkeeper at Bench, who is assigned to my account, right? And they auto import all the stuff from my bank accounts and from PayPal and all that jazz, and they reconcile my books for me. Right. I don't need to do it. They do it all automatically. I get an email, I don't know, a couple weeks into the month and saying, hey, your books are ready. And then we could schedule a meeting and chat with them if need be. Right. A lot of times it's just thumbs up. We're good. So yeah, check out Bench. I wish I'd done it years ago. It's for what they give. It's super cheap. But I understand if you're just getting started, something like Wave apps or doing, a non-recurring expense is good. But if you can afford it, definitely as early as you can, get something like Bench, because it's just going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Okay. Next up is a service I hired, which actually tightly integrates with Bench. I should mention, if you are interested in Bench, let me know. Shoot me an email at joe@weavers.space, and I can hook you up. And I think like if I sign you up, like you get 2 months free, and so do I, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, let me know if you are interested. I can hook it up, and we could both benefit. So that's good. Next is a service called Gusto. And so another painstaking thing about owning a business is payroll. Okay. And in the US, we have to file payroll taxes and all the various paperwork that you have to do with all of that. And I tried to have my accountant do it for a couple years, and it was just kind of like always an afterthought for me. And so much stress I spent over the years on payroll and getting all that done. And I just hired Gusto this year, and they do it all for me. Like, it is absolutely just amazeballs. It's not quite as high touch as Bench is, but their system that they do have that's completely automated is really cool. They automatically, every month I just go in, I run payroll just by clicking on a few check boxes or buttons and saying, yep, because my payroll is pretty much the same every month, right? It takes care of filing, it takes care of withholdings, it takes care of all that stuff, and it takes care of paying the government my estimates. And, oh, geez, I wish I had done this years and years ago. Okay, so, and similar with Bench, if you are interested in Gusto, let me know. I can refer you and get you a hookup for, I don't know, I think it's a couple months or something like that again. But I can't just give you a link. It has to be like a personal referral. So if you do want access and you want some a month or two free or whatever they give, let me know, and I can make sure I hook that up with you. So Gusto is really cool. Great company for payment processing or payroll processing, and they integrate really tightly with Bench. So the two services really work well together. Next up is my accountant. I do have a CPA that she files my taxes every year, right? So Bench and Gusto get all those. Well, this will be the first year, 2018, that I kind of have a lot of that stuff done for me. So it'll be interesting to see when I do my 2018 taxes, how much easier it is to file my taxes with my accountant, because there'll be a lot less work for me to do, which will be nice. Now, this year, I do have to say, a great friend of mine, he runs a podcast called The Small Business Show, and Dave Hamilton, and he also runs Mac Geek Gab and Mac Observer and a bunch of other companies. And he had a podcast show recently that talked about taxes and whatnot. And what I did this year, for the first time ever, is I just filed an extension. And what that does is, it's kind of brilliant, actually, Dave. I do have to commend you on this one. So instead of trying to, kill myself to get everything filed and done by, for businesses, it's March 15th, right? Filing extension gives you an extra 6 months. And not only does it give me extra time to get all my paperwork ready, but when I do work with my CPA, she'll have more time to spend with me. And it's not going to be so rushed, because during tax time, right, between January to March, my CPA is just bogged down helping out dozens, probably 100 more plus clients, right? So getting personal service from your CPA during that time period just isn't doable. So filing extension, I will actually, to be honest, I've been working so hard on WeaverSpace that I haven't even looked at my taxes for 2017 yet. So I'm glad that I did file an extension, obviously, for this year, because this project, getting WeaverSpace done, is huge for me. It is my number one priority, and even above filing my taxes. So that extension gave me at least 6 months. So this summer, I'll definitely be working with my CPA, hopefully getting a little bit more attention from her, not quite so rushed. So I'm looking forward to that. Next up, legalese. So I hired a new lawyer this year as well. And that was another thing I wanted to get off my plate, in terms of, helping someone help me, creating a good terms of service and making sure that, I have all of that stuff in line. I know GDPR is the big main point. I am not going to talk about GDPR today. Oh my God, I am so sick of it. But, making sure that I have all of that taken care of. You probably actually know my lawyer. His name is David Sparks. He is AKA Mac Sparky. He is at macsparky.com. He also runs a very popular podcast called Mac Power Users. And I am looking forward to working with David. I just recently hired him, so I'm looking forward. I love David. I've known him for years, actually. And I just connected the dots when he went solo about 6 months ago from his law firm, or maybe it was a year ago now, and just connected the dots of, I need a lawyer. David's a lawyer. Duh. Right. Next up is employees. I obviously have me, my wife, and my children are employees of my company, right? Yes, I do employ my children, not only because they help me out. Right. My little guys help me out with stuff. My older son, he's starting to get into maybe editing some podcasts and videos for me. Maybe we'll get him to help out with some email support pretty soon. I don't know. Who knows? Let's see where life takes us. And that's interesting. Team communication, it's 100% Zoom and Slack. Okay. Slack, we have a Slack group. You probably all know what Slack is, right? Slack is a chat room that we talk, chat all day long, help each other go back and forth with tickets or issues or, just general chit chat. And it's really good to view people face to face since we are 100% virtual, the company. So we use Zoom every day, all day long to do video chats. Okay. Now, I've gone through all the boring stuff and now I'm getting into the exciting stuff of what tools do I use to run my business, because I know that's really, really what you want. And I notice I'm already 16 minutes in and I got a huge list of software that I use. Okay. So development side, obviously for on development, I use GitHub and Bitbucket. I have some older repositories that I've just been too lazy to move off Bitbucket onto GitHub. I do pay for a business GitHub repository so that I can have private repos. So all my stacks, all my product code is all in a private Git repo. I have a team on GitHub so that people like Tav can actually access all of that as well. So another reason I like GitHub is its issue tracker. Pretty much. I prefer its issue tracker over Bitbucket. I also use an app called Bee from neat.io, and it supports GitHub. And I just love that app for managing my bugs and feature requests and all that stuff. So that's how I those are the tools I use for development side. I also have kind of a homegrown tool called Stake that I've spent total probably 6 to 8 months of time developing. And that's just kind of a tool that I use to, release my products, and it auto posts to various social networks. It, helps me build my documentation portal, and it does all kinds of stuff, right? So automation is key when you're a solopreneur like myself and you have 150 products. Automation is key. Let me say that again. Automation is key. If you don't know how to write little programs and scripts to automate your life, for mundane things, I couldn't do what I do today without automation. So my scripting tool of choice is Ruby. I love Ruby, but I only use Rails. Not really a Rails guy, but Ruby. Love it for scripting and automation and things of that nature. So yeah. Next up is tools that I use for support and testing. I've already kind of gone over Zendesk and how much I love Zendesk. It's an indispensable support tool. If you email support@joeworkman.net or new email address, support@weavers.space, it goes and generates a ticket into Zendesk. We can then manage that. Zendesk is awesome. Other tools I use for testing. Okay. First is Email on Acid. I talked about this in our email podcast, but it's just a great way of testing and seeing how your email that you built using the email stacks looks inside every email client out there. Yahoo, Gmail, iPhones, Gmail, Outlook, all versions of Outlook, right? And basically you put in the HTML for your email and it will automatically generate previews from every device out there so you can see how it looks. Really cool. It's a little pricey. It's the cheapest of the ones that are out there. There's other tools like Litmus and some other ones. And Email on Acid is probably at least half the price of the other ones. So it's good. I probably don't. It has a lot of other features like an inspiration gallery and things of that nature that I don't really utilize. It's something I'm going to look into later this year so that I can hopefully maybe get a little bit more out of the service since I'm paying for it. Next is Browser Stack, and that is primarily a way for me to test Internet Explorer, right? Browser Stack's really cool. It allows me to open up a web page in any OS, in any browser, in any tons of different versions, but I primarily use it for Internet Explorer testing. I used to have a VMware instance or Parallels instance that I would fire up Windows and then open up Internet Explorer, and that just got difficult to manage. And Browser Stack's awesome. One thing about Browser Stack I'll let you in on a little secret. Okay, is on their pricing page. There is, if you scroll down towards the bottom, there's like freelancer pricing. It's a link for freelancer pricing, and I think it's like $15 a month, and that's what I use. You know, it's hard to justify for, especially for, you know, the common person, some of their other payment plans. But the freelancer package just fit exactly what I need. I don't need it very often. Some months I don't even use it at all. So, but when I need it, it's a very good tool. I can fire up. I find it works best in Chrome. I'm more a Safari guy, but I fire up Chrome, and because it has like a little a browser plugin for Chrome that you just click the toolbar, choose your OS and your browser, and it automatically goes to that site for you. I don't need to like log into Browser Stack every time. The add-on in Chrome just does it all for you, which is pretty slick. So I primarily use Chrome for Browser Stack, but really cool service. Love it. Tools I use for marketing and analytics and things of that nature. Okay, so actually just marketing. Analytics I'm going to do separately. So I use Sendy. It is a self-installed email provider. So instead of MailChimp, my current email list is about 25,000. It's between 25 to 30,000 people, somewhere around there. And to manage that many users on MailChimp or any other hosted email service is a lot of money. Especially since right now, I'll be honest, I don't use email marketing good enough. I don't send out constant, drip campaigns or anything like that much. I do have a few that I talked about in the email episodes, but I don't do it enough to warrant how much it would cost for me to move to something like MailChimp or ConvertKit or things of that nature. So I use Sendy. It's self-installed. I think it's like $60, and if you're scared about installing it, I think you could pay them, and they're like $150, and they'll install it for you or something like that. But it just runs on a server. And it has a MySQL database, and it's just a web app that I use, but it's my own, right? And it uses Amazon SES to send out 20,000 emails. It costs me like $1 or $2 or something like that, right? It's very little, so it's like nothing. Okay. Next up in my marketing tools is Buffer. I use Buffer for scheduling of social media posts. And so I can post something once to Buffer, and then it will automatically post it to Google Plus, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's it. I think it just posts to those 3 places right now. Right. But it's cool. Like, I have a Google Plus page, and I know a lot of you might love Google Plus, but I'm not really on there anymore. But it's nice for those users that are on Google Plus, like they can follow my page and get the updates that way. Right. Same thing for Facebook, right? I'm not too active on my business Facebook page personally. If you post any comments there, I will reply to you. But all the posts there, basically we schedule them in Buffer, and Buffer will post it to our WeaverSpace Facebook page, WeaverSpace Twitter, and our WeaverSpace Google Plus page, right? So Buffer is a great way to schedule those out and automatically post to multiple locations at once. I talked about ConvertFox. I haven't started using it yet. It's something that I want to do to help me build more sales funnels and things of that nature. SparkChart, that is a interesting service that I subscribed to last year that I haven't leveraged yet. Okay, but it's a questionnaire form, right? So it's when I'm ready to start asking you guys for help and doing like forms. I could use Google Forms, right? And that's obviously free, but SparkChart looked like an interesting thing for me to ask you questions and it not be a Google form. So not being a Google form is good for me. Next up, tools is Zoom. I already talked about Zoom quite a bit. Online video chat, use it for team communication as well as Hangouts. And I'm going to be using it more for webinars going forward. So Zoom is a great tool to use. Relay That is a kind of like a popular thing out there is called Canva. But Relay That's kind of a competitor, kind of the underdog, but I got a lifetime subscription to that. And it's a interesting service that lets you create images that will automatically size themselves for the social media platform that you are targeting, right? So it's an online image creation tool that has pre-made layouts and very cool things like infographics and things of that nature. It's really cool. And then it'll auto export. Like if you're posting it to Facebook, it knows exactly what image size is good for Facebook and what's best for Instagram and what's best for Twitter and things of that nature. So really, that's really good for that stuff. Next up is TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is a service that ties into YouTube. And it's essentially a really powerful YouTube channel manager. And I just recently got it, so I'm not an expert at it yet, but I definitely want to grow my YouTube platform, my channel, so that it's easier to find things and that it just be nicer. So I think TubeBuddy will help me grow my YouTube channel and make it nicer for you as the user, to make sure I know what you're listening to, how long you're listening to videos and things of that nature, so that I can improve and make better videos for you. Okay. Now, a couple services that I'm contemplating. One is called Edgar and another one is called Post Planner. And there's kind of similar to Buffer in that, but the only thing is, like with Edgar and Post Planner, I can create a bucket of social media posts, and then it'll just randomly pick things out of these buckets and post them to social media, right? So Buffer, I have to explicitly schedule things out. And if you have to explicitly do something, a lot of times it just won't work. But if I can make a bucket of 200 social media posts that it will just randomly choose from and post, then chances are I'm going to do it more. So looking at Edgar and Post Planner, I'm not sure what the oranges and apples are of those two, but they're on my list of things to evaluate for this year to see if they can help me be better at interacting with you guys and posting things that you would find interesting. Okay. Next up is some design tools. So obviously RapidWeaver. I'm not going to dive into RapidWeaver and all the products and stacks into there. You know that we use RapidWeaver. But a couple of services that I supply to are actually Adobe. So Typekit and Adobe Stock. Typekit, if you want great fonts at a great price, Typekit is really hard to beat. I think it's like $40 a year, or something like that. And it's just a great value. You have access to some really great fonts. It's fast. So I really recommend Typekit. Now on my new Weaver Space design, I'm actually going to be using typography.com. I purchased a very, very cool font that I'm excited about, that I'm going to be able to use and licensed that font on Weaver Space. So I'm really excited about that. So wait for that new, awesome, beautiful font that you're going to be seeing on Weaver Space. And that's brought to you by Hoffler and Company, which is typography.com. A lot more expensive than Typekit, but I think for the value, Typekit is the best online font foundry out there. So, or online font service, I should say. Then Adobe Stock. We've talked about this in the images episode. There's a lot of great stock services out there, but Adobe Stock just has great quality stuff. So I pay $30 a month and I get 10 downloads a month, and they accrue. So, they build up. So if I don't use all 10, they roll over to the next month. So that's great. Financial services. I kind of talked about this already. Bench, PayPal, I talked about, we use that for payment processing. Gusto is my payroll processor, and Cartloom. Cartloom is my shopping cart software, and I couldn't be online and do sales without Cartloom. I'll just be frank with you. I probably wouldn't even be around and have an online store if it weren't for Cartloom. So I remember back in the day, back in 2009, Mike Ibedra emailed me and was like, yo, dude, I have this new thing called Cartloom. Would you want to be a beta tester for it? And at the same time, Isaiah of Your Head was saying, dude, you should start selling your stacks. They're pretty cool. And I just put one-on-one together. Hey, Isaiah thinks I should sell this stuff. Mike's got this beta thing. I should test out the shopping cart software. Let's give it a go. And almost 10 years later, I'm still going at it. So major props to Cartloom. I love it. It's a great service. If you need shopping cart software, Cartloom handles all the headaches for you. So it's really good stuff. So check out Cartloom. I'm excited about it. Next up, hosting. So where's WeaverSpace hosted? What do we do? So I've been on DreamHost for years. It was since the early 2000s probably. And so I kind of have all my domains hosted at DreamHost. They're a nice service. I think they have good fair pricing. I think I pay for like my VPS. I pay like $100 a year or something like that. And I primarily use that host as like my test ground, right? So that's like my test host. I run all my test sites on it, and it's just my utility server that I use. I then host my own servers using DigitalOcean. Now, I have 3 servers with DigitalOcean. I have one in San Francisco, and then I have 2 of them in New York, in different data centers. So I think it's very important. I can geographically move my website from New York to San Francisco if need be. So I did this strategically so that if anything happens in San Francisco, I can fail my site over to New York. By default, all my sites run off in New York. Okay, all my New York servers, because half my customer base is in Europe. So I want to make sure that there is the least possible, physical distance from them. Right. So I have my New York servers run joeworkman.net and WeaverSpace websites, as well as foundationstacks.com and totalcms.com, all those sites, right? Those run off my New York servers. And again, I purposely chose New York so that it was still in the US, but as close as possible to Europe, so that we don't have any sort of issues geographically. Okay. But if, let's say, something happened to the data center in New York, or there's a power outage in New York, I can fail my sites over just by switching DNS of my domains over to my San Francisco servers, and I can fully run all my websites from there as well. So that's why I have multiple hosts in multiple geographic locations, so that I can quickly fail over those hosts if need be, right? Always, data centers, you probably get emails from your host. We have some scheduled outage at this time. What I do is I just make sure that if my New York host has a scheduled outage, if it's going to be for any length of time, I'll just fail that over to San Francisco the day before. And when everything's done, I'll fail it back over to New York. And you as the users never see that. Hopefully you never see any issues. But I just want to make sure that since these sites are running my livelihood and my business, that I protect myself by doing that. So now my San Francisco server, I have things like, my Sendy, my email server that runs off my San Francisco server. I run my own analytics package called Matomo, formerly Piwik, and instead of Google Analytics, and all of that runs off my San Francisco server as well. So all of those stats and all the databases for that stuff all reside in my San Francisco server. So that's my hosting companies. Some other services I use, obviously YouTube is a video service. I use YouTube for video hosting. I've tried many over the years. Actually, I still have some videos on Vimeo and Wistia. And I used to be exclusively on Vimeo. And the reason I moved off was YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. And if you're not on YouTube, then you're not being found. And so I wanted to move all of my videos over to YouTube. And for a while, I was doing both YouTube and Vimeo because I thought Vimeo's player was a lot better. But YouTube's really improved their player a lot. I really, really like it. I think they've done a nice job of it. They have a lot of customizations that you can add to the player to turn off some of the annoying things like the thumbnails at the end and the stuff like that. So I'm going all in with YouTube. I'm focusing on my YouTube channel more this year to make that and grow that as obviously a video platform. So YouTube's great. Wistia, I still have some videos on Wistia. I have to pay for Wistia every month. And pretty soon I'm going to move everything off of Wistia and stop paying for it. Wistia has a really beautiful player. It really is top notch. And they have great analytics about their videos. But it's expensive. And I really don't need to be spending money on it. if I don't have to. I'm just going to go all in with YouTube. Vimeo is nice. It's a nice alternative. They have a pro package as well that lets you even do more customizations and removing the branding and all that jazz. So if you want to go with Vimeo, I think that's a good solution. Their pro thing, I think, is like $60 a year. I think I even still pay for that. But yeah, I'm going all in with YouTube. I think their player is decent, and if you want to be taken seriously and people find you, you got to be on YouTube. So that's that. Next up, this podcast, WeaverRadio.com. We host this on Transistor. It's a new startup by a good new friend of mine, Justin Jackson. And he started this a few months ago and asked me if I wanted early access. So transistor.fm, it's a really great podcasting platform. I like it a lot. Its interface, everything about it is just really nice and top notch. It's kind of transparent. You don't really see it, but even the WeaverRadio.com is hosted by transistor.fm. So they create the entire website for you in their back end. So I don't have to worry about it. So it's nice. Transistor.fm. It's a really good service. And lastly, for hosting is Amazon. So Amazon S3, all of my digital downloads for all of my products, they're all zip files and they're all hosted on Amazon S3. Also, if you get auto updates from any of my products for any version, all of those Sparkle updates are all hosted on Amazon S3 as well. So I do use Amazon. For what I use it for, it's pretty cheap. I know eventually it might get expensive, but I think we're getting into if I 10x business or something like that, or even more. But right now, Amazon is working well for me. It only costs me like $20 a month for all the stuff that I host and serve off of S3. Okay. Analytics, I kind of mentioned this briefly. I run a service called Matomo, and it's formerly called Piwik. They just renamed it a couple months ago, actually. And I wanted to get off Google Analytics. I don't know. It just the interface for Google. The interface for Google Analytics is kind of confusing. I can never find the reports that I wanted or the data that I needed. And Piwik or Matomo is just easy. The interface is nice. It's simple. It gives me everything that I need. Plus, I own all the data. Right? It's not on Google server. I'm tired of renting space of other services. I really do prefer running my own stuff now. I've been running business for about 10 years now, and I'm technical enough that I can install and manage all this stuff, and I really do enjoy running it and knowing that if Google isn't going to change analytics and screw me, right? Matomo is there. They supply routine updates. It is open source. And they have paid plugins, which is how they make money, right? And they have some nice plugins. I haven't jumped the gun and bought any of them yet. They're the ones that I like are kind of pricey, but maybe one day I'll jump in on the bandwagon and get some of the nice plugins. Like they have a video analytics one that looks kind of cool, and I like to play around with that, see how that works out. A service that I'm looking at for more business related analytics, and I want to do that with Matomo actually is get more into like the e-commerce conversion goals and things of that nature, right? Google Analytics has that stuff, but I'd love to get more of that data to get more business related metrics, not just metrics on what browsers people are using. Well, that stuff's important. How many referrers I have, the traditional website analytics stuff. I really need more business. I want to get more business metrics so that I can really get to know the trends in the business so that I can improve things and make things better. So I am looking at a service called Bear Metrics. They have some really beautiful graphs and reporting. They're primarily for SaaS applications though. And I need to talk to them to see if it will make a service like theirs would make sense for me. But before I do any of that, I think I need to make sure that I try Matomo first, since it has all kinds of e-commerce goals and reportings and things of that nature, just like Google Analytics does. But I would be excited to see that information, to see how I could use that data to improve things for you and for WeaverSpace. So yeah. Last thing on my list was finances, but I already kind of went over that. Stripe, PayPal, Cartloom. So Yeah, that was kind of exhaustive. I really need a glass of water right now. I hope you found this useful, guys. I don't know if maybe you found it interesting. Maybe it was just completely boring. I know a lot of people love hearing about tools and stuff, and this isn't really apps. This is like business related tools and stuff that I'm using to grow my business, but hopefully you get a little bit out of it, and I appreciate it. I'd love to hear any feedback. If you have any feedback specific to me about Weaver Space, shoot me up an email at joe@weavers.space. Else, if you just want feedback about the podcast or ideas or questions that you'd like us to answer on the podcast, shoot us an email at feedback@weaverradio.com. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook on Joe Workman. Maybe not Facebook. I'm always on Twitter. Let's just get real. Joe Workman there. And I'm on Weaver Space. You can hit me up there, and I'm there all day long. It's my squirrel. It's my place that I go and hang out with my peeps, with my users, with you. I love hanging out with you guys. And so yeah, if you want to leave us a review on iTunes, I would love it. Head over to iTunes, search for Weaver Radio, give us a rating. Let everybody else know that you love us, and so they can give us a listen as well. And we can get more users, grow the community, because that's really the end goal, is to a rising tide raises all boats, or whatever that saying is that I said earlier, right? So thank you very much, everybody. I am going to go get a glass of water, maybe a cup of coffee, give me some energy. And hopefully I will see some of you tomorrow at the Hangout Fridays. Okay, I'm not sure what day you're listening to this. Head over to community.weavers.space, and there is a calendar there with all of the schedule for the Hangouts. They normally are on Fridays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed these 3 episodes. Next episode, I know you've missed Greg. He will be back, and we will get back to our regular programming, and it won't just be me talking your ear off. So we'll see you guys later. Take care. I love you. Bye.